This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Program is rated MALSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, yeah, I think we know that. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today's Monday, March the 23rd of 2026. I don't know what day number it is, but it is one of those days so far into this year. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Oh, yes, infiltration and Radio Big is the mixture of things that occurs inside of the multiverse. Because that's kind of what we do around here. We do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that, and then we kind of move forward. So how have you been? How was your weekend? Did you do anything exciting? Should you be bragging about some of the stuff that you did? I'm just trying to figure it out. You know, it is that Monday morning thing where people are like, it's a Monday. I wish I'd never feel that way. If I was doing something that I hated that much that I'm like, it's Monday, then I probably wouldn't be doing that anymore. I'd be doing something else. But anyways, let's not get too deep into the weeds there. So, let's look around. It is Monday, and we are going to take some dives today in some things that are going on inside of the world of the news stories, because that's kind of what we do. And then we are going to give you a level of a main story, because we do that as well. If you want to interact with the show, it's simple to do so. All you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. Once you get there, audio, video, and text messaging are the options of the things that you can do on that side, and then we kind of move forward. And that's it. So what do you think? Interesting stuff, right? So with that being said, why don't I do this? I have some people from Feature Story News that come out and hang out with us. They're always ready to talk in regards to some of the stuff that's happening. So if you're good with it, I'm good with it, and we'll get moving right away. What do you think? You good to move forward with that? I think it's the simplest way to do it. No other way around it. So let's do that. Let's get into the news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Neha Punia. Iran has responded to US President Donald Trump's threats that his country would hit Iran's power plants unless Tehran reopens the Strait of Hormuz in 48 hours. Iran says if that happens, it would hit energy installations in the Gulf region belonging to US allies. This as the war enters its fourth week. Ross Cullen is reporting from Van from the Turkey-Iran border.
In terms of the response from Iran to President Trump's threat to bomb all the power plants, Tehran says there would be irreversible destruction to any companies with US shares and the energy infrastructure in any countries that host US bases. So Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar and the UAE, for example. You might remember earlier in the war, drones being flown into luxury hotels in Dubai because Iran sees the UAE as a US ally. Also speaking on Sunday, we heard from the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent defending President Trump's position, saying that sometimes to de-escalate, you have to escalate. So ramping up the threats to Iran while at the same time trying to wind down the war.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has chaired a high-level meeting with top ministers and officials to assess the fallout of the West Asia crisis and has ordered a dedicated group of ministers and secretaries to manage the response. The move comes as New Delhi looks at the impact on fuel, fertilizer and wider supply chains.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security on Sunday after a high-level review with senior ministers and officials on the prolonged conflict in West Asia. The government says short, medium and long-term steps were discussed to ensure the continued availability of essential supplies, including alternate sources of fertilizers and diversifying imports for key industrial sectors. The review comes as concerns have been mounting over India's long-term energy security and the ongoing shortage of cooking gas due to attacks on Gulf countries and the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and said he condemned attacks on critical infrastructure.
Meanwhile, some US airports are seeing increased waiting times as a partial government shutdown continues. US President Donald Trump says ICE agents will assist with airport operations for as long as it takes. Rob Martier has more.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says TSA wait times will get worse as the partial government shutdown continues. Duffy joined ABC's This Week.
And as it gets worse, I think that puts pressure on the Congress to come to a resolution. Democrats have to say, you know what, we're not going to defund this. We're going to actually work together, have some common sense reform that the president will work with us on.
He also defended President Trump's plan to send ICE agents to airports, saying it makes a lot of sense if they can assist with operations. Airline passengers have been facing long lines and disruptions as lawmakers debate funding.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Now, take a listen to this.
توجه 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 6 4 0
Should you still have a shortwave radio and you're scanning the wave bands, you might stumble across that. It's what's known in the world of spycraft as a numbers station, a recording, in this case of a man speaking Farsi, calling for the attention of his listeners and then reading a string of numbers that sound like they may be random but in fact are coded messages. In this case, they're believed to be instructions from the CIA to its agents inside Iran. Jacob Judah is a journalist specializing in security and technology at the Financial Times.
It's ironic that, they're AI-powered weapons in the air while intelligence agencies are still using things that other intelligence agencies were using in the 1950s. But fundamentally, when it comes to these shortwave radio broadcasts, the old school technology it still works, right? And that there's a risk that comes from using kind of the digital stuff, which is that it leaves traces. You can have your entire intelligence network exposed, whereas with this, no one knows who's listening to a radio broadcast. You can have a radio in your house for 20 years and people will not think that you're a spy.
There are all sorts of numbers stations transmitting on shortwave. Their first recorded use was back during World War I. And even though technology has marched on, the utility of shortwave to deliver broadcasts over vast distances remains impressive, even by digital standards. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Iran has threatened to hit energy installations in the Gulf region after US President Donald Trump said over the weekend that America would strike Iran's power plants unless Tehran reopens the Strait of Hormuz in 48 hours. As the war enters its fourth week, sirens could be heard across north and central Israel, with Iran continuing to strike back. This as Israel says it's carrying out wide-scale attacks targeting Iranian military infrastructure. And that is the latest. Feature Story News, Neha Punia reporting.
Listen to our host of the Rated R Safety Show. Self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
Let me talk to you real quick. What is HelloFresh? With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Spend your time this month shopping for gifts and sipping cocoa, not stuck at the checkout line. Sign up for HelloFresh and get everything you need to whip up a fresh, tasty meal delivered to your door. Just choose your recipes, select a delivery date, and relax knowing that dinner is on its way. HelloFresh has over 45 recipes and more than 100 seasonal add-on items to choose from every week, so it's easier than ever to find something everyone will enjoy. Go to HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free. That's HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free to use the code SafetyFM free for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM free with code SafetyFM free. And don't forget that this is why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Yeah, that's how it goes. We talk a little bit about this, we talk a little bit about that, and we do a little bit of this and that. Why is that camera so far? That seemed a little crazy for a moment. It seemed like I was everywhere. Okay, so let's get in real quick in regards to some of the stuff that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse. And I just don't know where to start because a lot of it seems kind of strange. So we'll start off with some odd stories. Take a listen to this. Your grocery run just turned into a live show. A family-owned spot called Fiesta Fresh Market in Newcastle, Delaware is doubling on the concert venue, giving the local artist right next to the produce aisle, a stage. Co-owner Jose Aguilar got the idea, saying that seeing Danny Lux on NPR Tiny Desk concert and thought, why not bring the vibe to a grocery store? So he did. Acoustic sets, simple setup, and the artist performing while people shop for avocados. But for customers, like, can I just buy a tortilla in peace? Now it's turned into one thing and then to another. But people actually ask, when's the next show? The clips are blowing up online and pulling serious views, even translating into real streaming numbers for artists. One band, Illusion, got enough buzz to land a meeting with Atlantic Redders. Not a bad for a gig between aisle 3 and the frozen food. I mean, I'm just saying. So what do you think? How would you like going into the grocery store and, they're playing some music? I used to go to a grocery store, but they've all closed down At least they closed down during the pandemic, it seemed. Where you could walk around and drink beer. I mean, not that I did it because I don't drink beer, but you could go around and buy beer and just drink it as you're going through the cart. What I miss the most from that grocery store is they sell orange flavored bacon. Yeah, orange flavored bacon. Have not been able to find it since. And not that I really went looking around for it, but it was just one of those weird things that happened. So there you go. So there you go. What a weird thing. So let's continue with this. What do you think about this one? A 40-year-old Taiwanese man says that he was riding Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, home of the fastest roller coaster on the planet, and it left him more than just shaky legs. After riding, he felt dizzy, ignored it, and then flew home. Months later, he collapsed. Doctors found a serious brain bleed that required surgery. According to his doctors, it wasn't a classic stroke. It was likely caused by intense shaking from the ride. As the people get older, their brains shrink slightly, leaving more room to move inside of their skull. And add the high G-forces and flexible blood vessels, and yeah, things can go sideways quick. So the guy posted his story online as a warning. If you're over 40, maybe think twice before strapping into something that launches you like a fighter jet. At 20, it's a thrill ride. At 40, it's a medical episode. Just saying. The coaster didn't just drop, so did his blood pressure. So from 0 to call the doctor in 2.5 seconds, turns out that real deloop with a CT scan, please. And then he came for speed, but left with a neurosurgeon. Just kind of the way that it goes. So this is all joking aside, but this is something that you probably have to put into a factor. And I'm not saying a form factor, but a factor just in general. That if you get on these rides, they're mostly, for entertainment purposes. And what is the entertainment value for you? I mean, is it something that you're willing to take a risk on? Just saying. So, I told you it's news of the weird. So let's just talk a little bit more about that. A 25-year-old Chinese creator, Chen Qing, is blowing up online, carving insanely detailed sculptures out of carrots using nothing but her teeth. Yeah, no knives, no tools, just bite, shape, and repeat. The internet's calling it human 3D printer, which is both impressive and slightly terrifying. She stumbles into, while snacking, that on a live stream turned a carrot into a simple shape. Viewers loved it, so she leveled up. Now she's creating detailed pieces like the Great Wall of China. Well, that sounds like a massive thing to do. Yellow Crane Tower with nothing but the incisors and patience. Carrots won't won out over the veggies because they're sturdy, easier on her stomach, and don't wreck her teeth as fast either. She got about 100 edible creations and insists that nothing goes to waste. She cooks them or feeds them the scraps to her animals. Downside, tooth sensitivity. Yeah, no kidding. So let me just make sure that I understand this. I would imagine, so she's doing it with her teeth. This crap has to be going into her mouth for some reason. And then she's cooking it and eating it. And I hope this is not like a shared format, because that would get weird quick. I'm just saying. Just think about it. Give it some ideas here. So there you go. Let's see. What else do we got? I'm going to give you another weird one, and then we'll get into some normal news just for the sake of doing it, because I would stay in the news of the weird because there's so much good stuff. So maybe we'll do a couple more. Let's just take a listen to this one. A North Carolina man, Michael Smith, pleaded guilty to running a massive streaming scam using AI-generated songs and thousands of bot accounts. He uploaded a huge catalog of computer-made tracks to platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music, and then had the bots play them nonstop. We're talking billions of fake streams between 2017 and 2024. All carefully spread out en masse to look legit. The result, over $8 million in royalties that should have gone to actual artists. He used fake emails, outsourced laborers, and VPNs to keep the scheme running under the radar. But eventually the math caught up with him. Now he's facing up to 5 years in prison. Bigger picture, with AI pumping out tens of thousands of songs a day, streaming platforms are scrambling to detect what's real and what's not, and trying to keep the system from getting gamed like that again. He dropped a fake album and accidentally charted the federal court billions in streams and zero actual fans. His biggest hits, terms of service violation. So there you go. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one when you start thinking about it. Take a listen to this one. A firefighter in Shelburne, Vermont had to rescue a raccoon that went all in on the peanut butter jar. And his head got stuck inside of it like a vacuum seal. The little guy climbed about 25 feet up a tree, blind and confused and probably questioning every life choice. The Shelburne Fire Department showed up, climbed a ladder, and carefully removed the jar, giving the raccoon back his eyesight and what politely called some dignity. Moral of the story, throw your trash away properly, or you might accidentally create a peanut butter-powered wildlife emergency. So there you go. Some things to think about there. What else do we got here? Think about this one. This one's
interesting, to say the least.
A Maryland man stopped at a Royal Farms and grabbed some fried chicken on a whim and bought a couple of scratch-off. He wins $50, reinvests the wins to another $50, double down one more time, and hits a $1 million jackpot. At first, he thought that it was just $1,000. Then he looked closer and basically forgot the food existed. He left the store laughing, ditched his meal, and sprinted to call his kids. The wild part, this isn't his first rodeo. He's been playing for 30 years and has already multiple five-figure wins. The guy either is incredibly lucky or the universe just really wants him to keep on buying tickets. Plan for the money, pay off the house, and take care of the kids. He went for a drumstick and then he hit the jackpot. I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it when it's all said and done. So there you go. Take a listen to this one as well. A wedding in New Hampshire turned into a full-blown disaster scene mid-celebration at the preserve of Chocokurua, I think is what it says. About 140 guests were partying when the floor inside of the building called Zap House suddenly gave up, opening up 20 by 20 the hole and dropping roughly about 70 people about 8 feet into the basement. 6 people were hurt, 4 went to the hospital and have since been released, and thankfully no one was killed. Guests and staff jumped into before the first responders arrived, using ladders and helping pull people out of the debris beams and even farm equipment stored below. Investigators say that the venue may have been over capacity, which contributed to the collapse. I guess the reception really dropped the beat on the floor, I guess is what it sounds like. And they said the wedding to remember, mission accomplished. Nothing says I do like a surprise basement tour because nobody wanted that. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on there. Okay, so let's do this one as well. School buses. Oh, should we talk about them? This one's an interesting one. A 15-year-old girl in Germany snuck into a bus depot, grabbed a master key, and casually drove off with a full-size bus like she had a route to run. Nobody noticed at first, and the staff, it was just another driver heading out. Hours later, they realized, oh, we're missing a bus. Using GPS, police tracked down about 80 miles away, where the officers found the teen behind the wheel picking up his girlfriend from school and heading back home like it was a date night with a schedule. No crashes, no injuries, bus returned spotless, but he's facing charges for theft and driving without a license. Hey, he said, I'll pick you up, and over-delivered. That's not a boyfriend, that's a transit authority, and most teens can't parallel park. This guy's handling a city bus. And talk about making a grand entrance at a pickup time. No doubt there. I mean, as we are talking, what do you think? So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff because that's what happens around here. So let's see. Oil prices are climbing after the Iran shut down a key export route, tightening global supply and pushing up costs across the board for gas, travel, and shipping and everything. Right now, the U.S. economy is still steady, but Wall Street is watching closely. Experts say that we're not panic territory yet. Oil is sitting around $95 a barrel, up from $65 earlier this year, and the danger zone is normally around $138 a barrel for a few months. When the recession alarms really start blaring, even crossing $100 is saying there could start squeezing consumers and slowing growth. And even the geopolitical drama cools off, higher energy prices tend to linger, meaning that the ripple effect won't vanish overnight. So keep that in mind. So we'll take a look here as we are going down and see what exactly happens there. So there you go. There you go. Okay, take a listen to this one. Tragic story coming out of Minnesota. Jesse Pierce, a well-known NHL reporter and podcast host, died in a house fire along with her 3 children and their dog. Fire crews responded Saturday morning to a home that was already fully fueled in flames. Sadly, the family was pronounced dead at the scene, and the investigators are still working to determine what was the cause of the fire. Pierce had been a longtime contributor to the NHL coverage, including work with a league of her Barden Beauties podcast. The NHL released a statement honoring her, calling her a valued member of the hockey community. What makes it even harder is just hours before the fire, she had posted photos of her kids out enjoying a simple moment together. So what a crazy time there. I mean, it's just weird when you start thinking about all of this stuff and how quick something like this can change when you're going through the whole thing. I mean, what a weird time for sure as we are talking. So there you go. Crazy time there. Let's continue talking about some other stuff that is going on. Robert Mueller, the longtime FBI director and former special counsel, has died at the age of 81. His family confirmed his passing but did not release a cause of death. He had previously been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and had been living in a memory care facility. Mueller led the FBI from 2001 to 2013 and taking over just before the September 11th attacks and reshaping the agency and its counterterrorism focused force. After retiring, he returned to the public service and lead investigation to the Russian interference in the 2016 election. Following the news of his death, Donald Trump reacted harshly on social media, saying that he was glad that he was dead, reflecting on their long-standing conflict over Russia probe, which Trump had repeatedly called a witch hunt. So there you go. What do you think there? I mean, I understand having issues with people because, it happens all the time. But damn, man, all of a sudden turning around and be like, I'm glad you're dead? That's kind of asshole-ish.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so Chuck Norris has died at the age of 86, with his family saying that he passed away peacefully in Hawaii, surrounded by loved ones. Reacting to the news, Donald Trump called Norris a great guy and a tough cookie, praising both his strength and his support over the years. Basically, the president summed it up the only way that you can with Chuck Norris, not someone you'd ever want to pick a fight with. So there you go, some things to think about as we are talking. Let's continue talking about some other stuff as well. The U.S. Department of State just put Americans on alert worldwide, and it's not routine. They issued a global security warning telling U.S. citizens to use extra caution, especially in the Middle East, citing potential threats from groups tied to Iran. The concerns of attacks on American interests possibly targeting the tourist spots and even a disruption to air travel. This comes as tensions spike following the major escalation. U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran in late February, which reportedly killed their main person. Since then, Iran has fired back missiles hitting locations in places in Dubai and Israel, and even projectiles hitting near the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. Iranian officials are now saying that are shocking tough warning with zero resistance, with threats amid energy infrastructure, banks tied to the U.S., and more. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has issued a hardline ultimatum demanding that Iran back off the key shipping lanes or face major military consequences. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking. What do you think about all this when you start hearing it? because it definitely gets more and more interesting as we are talking. It's not one of those things that it's a one thing that we talk about it and then it's done. It just doesn't happen that way. So what are your thoughts? Do you look at it and go, oh, what a crazy time? Or you just go, oh, this is just how life is lately. And then we just go from there. I don't know. I'm asking you because I have no idea about any of this. So there you go. Okay, so where do we want to go here? Do we want to do this one now? In a TikTok clip, a man talked about restaurant return theory. He said that if you leave the table at a restaurant and says a lot about you. Do you believe this? Do you think that it's okay to make a mess at a table expecting the waiter or waitress to clean it up? Take a listen to the theory.
Pay attention to what people do with their table when they leave a restaurant because it reveals more than you think. There's something called the restaurant return theory, and it suggests that how people leave their table says a lot about awareness and how they treat others. Some people stack their plates, throw away their trash, and organize everything, even though no one asked them to. Others leave everything scattered, napkins everywhere, food on the table, and then just walk out. The difference isn't about the rules, because there aren't any. The difference is whether someone considers the person that has to clean up after them, someone that they don't even know. It's a small moment, but it shows something bigger: empathy, respect for people in roles that go unnoticed. Because remember, at the end of the day, someone always has to deal with what you've left behind, whether it be good or bad. Because at the end of the day, how you treat or act towards people when it's optional says a lot more than when it's required.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think about the theory? Is it a good theory, a bad theory? I'm just asking because I've seen all kinds of weird stuff. I've seen where people leave a total mess, even with the trash can being right there next to them. And then I've seen ones where people are so detailed that they're pulling out like wet wipes and cleaning off the whole table before they actually get up and leave. Which one do you deem the right one? And before you just heard that, was that something that you even gave consideration to? I'm just being serious. I never know. I never know what other people think. If I knew what people thought, man, I'd be making a fortune here in regards to what's going on. Anyways, 32 minutes past the top of the hour, so I think we should probably do it because why would we not do our main story at the time that we do our main story?
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
So I'm going to talk about a subject that I'm kind of familiar with today because I think I only went to the theater like 8 times. But I want you to think back for a moment. And I'm going to say that I went to the theater 8 times to see this movie across 3 different states. I don't know what my weird obsession was at the time, but it did happen. So I want you to go back for a moment to year, I think it was 2008. And I want you to think about one of the most brilliant, unsettling, and philosophical, profound pieces of dialogue probably ever put into a film. Okay, maybe. It's Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's Joker is wearing a stolen nurse's uniform, and he is sitting next to the hospital bed where Harvey Dent is whose face has just been burnt off, partially burnt off. And I don't think I'm giving you any spoilers now because, this movie is almost 20 years old, 18 years old, something like that. So there you go. You should be fine. And the Joker leans in completely calm amidst the chaos, and he delivers a brutal but unavoidable truth about the human nature. And he says this: nobody panics when things go according to plan, even if the plan is horrifying. If tomorrow I tell the press that like a gangbanger will get shot or a truckload of soldiers will be blown up, nobody panics because it's all part of the plan. But when I say that one little old mayor will die, well, everyone loses their mind. The Joker was talking about the hypocrisy of society. But if you strip that away, the comic book paint off of the whole thing, you will realize that he just delivered the single most accurate description of corporate safety culture ever spoken. Let's talk about the plan. And we have this massive collective delusion in the working world that we plaster the walls with banners that say zero harm and safety is our first priority. And we hand out the hard hats, enough high-vis vests, and pretend that the system is designed to keep everyone alive and well. But that's not exactly the plan. The actual plan, the one sitting on the hard drives, the one on the spreadsheet mafia C-suite, is completely horrifying. In corporate America, a certain level of blue-collar blood is already priced into the margins. It is baked into the operational budget, and the executives sitting in the climate-controlled boardrooms know with statistical accuracy and certainty that if you run heavy manufacturing plant or a national trucking fleet or an offshore oil rig, people are going to get hurt. Fingers are going to be amputated, spines are going to get compressed, lungs are going to be permanently scarred with silica dust. And they do not panic. This is not a panic thing. If a roughneck gets a femur snapped by a heavy chain on a drilling rig in West Texas, the system does not stop. The CEO does not fly down in a panic. The board of directors does not call the emergency midnight session. Why? Because the roughneck is getting crushed is exactly like gangbangers getting shot in the Joker's speech. And it is known as being variable. Think about that, being variable in regards to that. It is part of the plan. Human Resources quietly files the workers' compensation claim. The corporate lawyers negotiate a $15,000 OSHA fine, which nothing but cheap tax for doing business. Think about it. The safety manager writes us the sterile root cause analysis, or the RCA, blaming the worker for the lack of situational awareness, and they sweep the dirt over the blood, and the production line fires right back up. Nobody loses their mind because the established order was maintained and the machine kept printing the money. Now, think about it. I'm not saying anything crazy here. Not saying anything crazy here. But now, let's flip the script. Let's talk about what happens when you introduce a little
anarchy
into the whole thing. Let's talk about what happens when you upset the established order. Now, imagine the vice president of operations. He pulls up in his pristine Lexus into the executive parking garage at the corporate headquarters. He steps out with his $2,000 suit holding a latte. He trips over a slightly uneven crack in the concrete, falls forward and fractures his wrist on the pavement. What? Watch what happens next. The entire corporate ecosystem absolutely loses its mind. Emails are flying, the red exclamation points. Facilities management is violently interrogated. By noon, a concrete crew is out there with jackhammers tearing up the entire parking lot structure to ensure that the surface is perfectly leveled. They spend $50,000 in 6 hours to, for this trip hazard. Why the sudden panic? Because an executive getting hurt is not part of the plan. It threatens the hierarchy. It upsets the established order. Let's take it out of the field for a moment. When does the C-suite actually panic about a hazard on the floor? They don't panic when workers complain about bypass safety guards for 6 months. They panic when an unapproved video of that bypass guard was viral on TikTok and the company's stock price just dropped by 4%. The panic comes when they investigate. Investigative journalist shows up at the front gate with a camera crew. The panic when the financial status quo is threatened. They do not lose their minds over human suffering. They lose their minds over systemic disruption. What am I saying here that is inaccurate for a moment? Seriously. If you are a safety professional, let's just start off with that. This is the most bitter pill that you will ever have to swallow. The company did not hire you to stop the horrifying plan. They hired you to manage it. They hired you to keep the acceptable losses neatly filed in a cabinet. They hired you to be the shock absorber between the violence of the production floor and the pristine ledgers of the boardroom. They want you to ensure that nobody panics. That's really the thing. But if you actually give a damn about people in the trenches, the guys and girls sweating out there on the line, pulling in the 14-hour shifts, breathing in the fumes, you cannot play by those rules. You cannot uphold the horrifying plan just because it is written in a corporate letterhead. If you want to keep your people alive, you have to embrace the Joker's philosophy. You have to become the agent of chaos of the corporate system. You have to upset the established order. When operation tells you that they cannot afford the downtime to fix a ventilation system and they expect you just to write the exception permit and look the other way, you don't file the paperwork. You walk over to the main breaker, you pull the lever, and you slap the lockout tag out on the padlock on the box, and you shut down the multi-million-dollar production line. Yes, I said that.
Duh.
You introduce a little anarchy, as I would like to put it. The plant is going to start screaming. The executives are going to threaten to fire you. They are going to absolutely lose their minds. Good. Let them panic. Let them sweat a little bit. Let them feel a little fraction of the pressure that workers on the floor feel every single day. Because until you threaten the plan, until you disrupt the money and the momentum, they will never, ever change the environment. So, as we are bringing our main story to a close here, or coming in for a landing, let's wrap up the segment. And I want you to take a long look at the plan your organization is running. Look at the hazards that have been normalized, and look at the risks that everyone just accepts as the cost of doing business. The system perfectly is comfortable with feeding people into the meat grinder as long as it happens quietly. If you want to be a real safety professional, you have to stop managing the quiet, and you have to stop being loyal to you have to stop being the loyal soldier to a sociopathic spreadsheet. Upset the established order, introduce a little friction, shut it down, because nobody in corporate is panicking, and they are just fighting hard enough for the people. Well, or let's see this. Then you aren't fighting hard enough for the people that are on the floor. What do you think here? What if you did introduce some chaos and a little anarchy today because the plan does not live up to really the way the world should work inside of your environment?
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You're listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
You've seen the loop. You've felt the shift. The script doesn't fit anymore, and neither do you. Safety transmission. The collapse of the construct is the third and final signal in the trilogy from J. Allen, Ph.D. And this time, it's not about waking up. It's about what you do once you're awake. The system didn't break. It just stopped pretending to hold you. And now it's blinking, rebranding presence, packaging resistance, and calling it progress. This book isn't a guide. It's a transmission. It doesn't teach the system how to evolve. It shows you how to stop performing for it. You'll see what happens when awareness becomes responsibility, when audits don't listen, and when leadership becomes a loop. But if you've made it this far, you're not here to be managed. You're here to carry signal. Safety Transmission, The Collapse of the Construct. Now available in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by J. Allen, Ph.D. Because if it couldn't hold your signal, it was never real to begin with. Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Through the noise, a melody shines. Remnants of dreams in tangled lines.
Okay, here we go. 45 minutes past the top of the hour. As you and I are hanging out on the Rated R Safety Show. A lot of stuff going on today, of course, as you can hear. This one right here, this one's called Through the Noise.
The signal pulses.
Yeah. In-house one. Don't know where to tell you to find it because we have not released it.
Find the spark.
Yeah, you know how it is. I like to play some of this stuff.
From the deepest dark. The universe hums a cosmic song.
Yeah, I still like it. I mean, I think they're still good. So there you go. That's some Through the Noise. Let's go in and let's start talking real quick about some things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse. And let me tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and we want you to know that people have been where you are now and that healing is possible. Things can get better. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, all kinds of information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, self-injury, suicide, trauma, and grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com, To Write Love on Her Arms. So there you go. Some information for you as we are talking. Let's talk about a couple other things that are going on. So we are 8 days away from the Conklin Workshop taking place in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Would love to see you there. If you're interested in showing up, still a few tickets available. The event is occurring March the 31st and April the 1st, so essentially next week. You'll have the opportunity to hang out with Todd Conklin, Redonda Voigt, Brett Sutton, and Ann Liren, and they will be talking about an incident that occurred, and it will be how to do an incident investigation going through the lens of HOP. So would love to see you there if you're interested. You can see the barcode that's on the screen or go to safetyfm.com and click on the section that says live events, and that will tell you exactly what's going on. So Santa Fe, New Mexico next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Would love to see you there. Can't make it to that when we have a little event occurring in Orlando on July the 13th. We're calling it Reality Shift, an observational symposium. People are going, why are you calling it that? Well, it's easy. We're doing it inside of a movie theater, so slightly different than most of the events that we do. And we would love to see you there. If you want to come and hang out in Orlando, we're doing it on a Monday. That way you can hang out in Orlando over the weekend if you're so interested in doing so. If you come on down, you'll get to hang out with Nick Weatherly talking about behavior-based safety. Todd Conklin will be there talking about human and organizational performance. And I will be there talking about the lovely thing that I call signal. So there you go. Would love to see you there. We're doing it in a movie theater, and we'll also be doing a little documentary movie scenario there. So we'd love to see you. If you have the opportunity, scan the QR code, or you can go to safetyfm.com and click on the section that says live events. I'm going to tell you the both events interesting to go to. The one-day event in July, we will be doing some different things that we just haven't done before, because we want to try it out. Doing it in a movie theater, slightly different than any of the other events that we have ever put on, because, hey, why not be different in a world where you can be different? That's the great part about it. Now, here's the cool part. I have right now John Small waiting. Talk about what the hell's going on with the Motivations Minute. So if you're interested in being motivated, because I'm always interested in being motivated when John's around, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's get you with the Motivation Minute right now.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Brian. Galileo Galilei said, "I do not feel obliged to believe that the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended us to forego their use." Very true. We should absolutely use our senses and our reason and our intellect. I see some things online where I wonder if people forgot that. I do my very best to bring people together. I had lunch with a young man recently who said he likes division. He said it helps you know what somebody really believes when they stand up for their side to fight. I suppose that's true, but I'd rather not fight. I've personally never seen anybody win that kind of fight. If I beat you over the head with facts and call you names, will that change your mind? Probably not. But if I listen to you and let you say what you need to say, then respectfully share my point of view, maybe we can actually get along. The Motivation Minute. This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
A devastating drone strike hit a key hospital in Sudan's El Dain during Eid celebrations, claiming 64 lives, including children and medical staff.
The World Health Organization reports the attack killed 13 children, 2 nurses, and a doctor at the facility. Sudan's army denies responsibility, rejecting claims by the Rapid Support Forces. Humanitarian groups warn of worsening crisis in Darfur amid ongoing clashes. Benjamin Wright reporting.
An Iranian missile struck near Israel's Dimona nuclear site after Tehran claimed one of its facilities was targeted first.
The International Atomic Energy Agency chief urged maximum military restraint to avoid escalation. BBC reporters visited the hit town, describing a direct impact with no immediate radiation risks reported. Tensions rise as both sides exchange fire in the region. Gary Beck reporting.
Russia launched a drone attack on Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia city, killing 2 residents ahead of U.S. talks.
Officials say 2 children aged 11 and 15 suffered injuries in the strike. The assault occurred just before planned negotiations in America. Ukraine vows to continue defending against such aerial barrages. Liam White reporting.
President Trump threatens to deploy ICE agents to U.S. airports amid a funding row causing TSA delays.
Airport security staff face weeks without pay due to partial government shutdown. Trump says ICE will handle security if needed during peak travel. Travelers report long lines as wait times worsen nationwide. Lawrence Keller reporting.
A new CBS News poll reveals economic worries from the Iranian war and spiking gas prices grip most Americans.
The survey highlights concerns over conflict escalation and energy costs. UN Ambassador Mike Waltz and NATO's Mark Rutte discussed impacts on Face the Nation. Households brace for higher bills amid global tensions. Jessica Oakley reporting.
Democrats reject a GOP counterproposal on ICE changes as shutdown deadline looms closer.
GOP offer details remain private amid stalled talks. House Democrats expand targets for upcoming seats in states like Minnesota and Colorado. Political gridlock fuels fears of prolonged federal disruptions. Kyle Norris reporting.
Trump touts strong economy but skips apology for a racist video involving the Obamas circulating online.
The clip sparked backlash amid heated rhetoric. President meets Netanyahu soon to push Iran peace talks. Focus stays on growth, despite domestic divides. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Senate holds rare weekend session over DHS funding and the Save America Act amid shutdown pressures.
Lawmakers scramble to avert crisis before deadlines hit. Debates center on security and border measures. Bipartisan efforts seek quick resolution for essential services. Sharon Kendra reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
We are radio. We are sarcasm. We are both combined. Radio Big.
Okay, here we are, 54 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's start talking right away about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1912, Dixie Cup is invented. In 1940, the first radio broadcast of Truth of Consequences comes out on CBS. Let's see, in 1972, Evel Knievel breaks 93 bones after successfully clearing 35 cars. Also in 1973, Yoko Ono is granted permanent residence in the U.S. Also, let's see, in 1983, Ronald Reagan introduces Star Wars plan, SDI. Yes, that's not a joke. You should look it up. Also, Billy Joel in 1985 weds supermodel Christy Brinkley. And last but not least, in 2023, Utah is the first state to limit social media for minors, introducing an overnight curfew and parental consent. So there you go. Also, what else do we have going on? Let's talk about some celebrity birthdays going on today. Maren Hinkle turned 60. Michelle Monaghan turned 50. And Carrie Russell turns 50. So there you go. There are some birthdays for you if you're so intrigued to know. And let's talk about some things you ought to know. Donald Trump says that says that help is on the way for those with brutal airport lines, and the incoming the aid is coming from ICE. The president announced that the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers will start deploying to airports and assist the Transportation Security Administration agents who have been stretched within thin lines is really what it is during the ongoing government shutdown. According to Trump, TSA has been dealing with major staffing issues, agents not getting paid, calling out or walking off, leading to security wait times reportedly hitting up to 3 hours in some places. Not exactly a pre-flight vibe anyone signed up for. The plan is simple. Bring an ICE personnel to help move those lines and get travelers through security faster. So that's what the plan is. What else do we got? Let's see. After Donald Trump warned the U.S. would obliterate Iran's power plants if they don't reopen the strait within 48 hours, Iran fired back both with words and missiles. Tehran says that if the U.S. hits its energy facilities, they go after American and Israeli infrastructures in the region, specifically things like energy systems, IT networks, and even desalination plants. Also, in other words, you hit us, we hit you back where it hurts. Meanwhile, missiles from Iran struck areas in Dimona and Arab and right by Israel's main nuclear research zone. Dozens were injured, buildings were wrecked, and for the first time in the area, Israel defenses didn't fully stop the missiles. The big deal, let's just talk about it. That's a huge deal, and we're now 4 weeks into the conflict, and instead of cooling off, it's heating up with energy infrastructure becoming the major target. So there you go. Just some things to think about as we are talking. So a lot of stuff going on. Anyways, at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come out and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. If not, I'll be going over to Radio Big. If not, you can hang out here and hang out with the likes of Sheldon Primus, as he will be talking about the world of safety consulting. So there you go. Some stuff to think about. If I can't leave you with some words of wisdom for today, here's one. Continuous efforts, not strength or intelligence, is the key of unlocking your potential. And if I can give you some words of advice for today, never take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. So there you go. Don't read the comments. Yeah, that's what they say. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.